This is the Believe in Pro Wrestling podcast. Here's Rick Ucchino and SP3 on the Believe Podcast Network.
Good Wednesday evening, dare I say prime time for Believe in Pro Wrestling. We just could not do our normal Tuesday stream this week, not with the biggest dick measuring contest in professional wrestling going on in the last, I don't know, when did NXT move to Tuesdays? Honestly, SP3, I missed this. I can't believe I'm saying this. I missed it. I missed the NXT versus AEW ratings war. Who's going to put on the better show? This was fun. This was a lot of fun this week. And drum roll, please. The winner was, no shocker. With the names that NXT trolled out there, when you're going to put John Cena, The Undertaker, LA Knight, one of the hottest names in the company. They didn't even put Becky Lynch on the show last night. They didn't even have to.
Nope.
Yeah, of course. Of course, NXT on its normal night was going to best AEW on its non-normal night. It had to move. It had to change. And it put together, honestly, arguably, the better show last night, did AEW. But in the end, it does not matter. 921 to 609. The winner last night goes to Shawn Michaels and Triple H. And Triple H may be a big-time winner. Period. End of story with what news, or at least reckless speculation, or at least maybe even smart speculation. I don't know. It appears Triple H is back fully, I said, in the creative saddle for WWE. Is it time to say, SP3, that the CM Punk hopes of returning to WWE have been TKO'd, shall we say? And oh yeah, we got some Survivor Series updates. We haven't been on since Fastlane was on. Yeet. There's a lot we need to dive into here today, SP3. My goodness, just overall, the weekend that was, it's just a good time. I feel like we say this every week. It's just a good time to be a pro wrestling fan right now. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of very interesting aspects to the business going on right now, and it's just fun. It's just fun.
Yeah, man. Discourse in wrestling is high. Headlines is high. It's a good time to be on the media side because you always got something to talk about, always got something to write about. It's a good time to be a professional wrestling fan. And as our good friend, Jeremy Lambert said on his Twitter, 1.5 million viewers watched professional wrestling last night. The wrestling fans are the winners, ladies and gentlemen. And it was a good show for both shows. I liked both shows because I pretty much got what I wanted or what I expected from both shows. I put it out on Twitter and it got a good response from people. I didn't even get a lot of negative response, but I basically said, I was like, I watched both shows at the same time. AEW was like the NBA playoffs. It's more of the basketball or the sport or what we're looking for when it comes to professional wrestling. It was a mixture, and especially with like a TV show, I don't always want matches, which AEW tends to do. Gave you a little bit of the Tony Storm being highlighted, a little bit of the Roddy Strong and Adam Cole stuff, the promo exchange between MJF and Jay White, depending on your taste, or you could just cut it off from MJF and Jay White and nobody else in that situation. But yeah, it gave me what I want for. So and I did have it on the big screen as well. So that had more of my attention than NXT. I had to take some time after the fact, after I put my kids down to sleep, make sure they're asleep and good and ready. I could watch NXT in isolation, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty much what I expected. Some big stars coming out. One of the guys who probably was like, oh man, Braun Breaker plays video games, I'm gonna go bury him in the final segment and then I got a whole bunch of fans that's like, oh, he pointed at somebody, that's an endorsement. No, I just said to my friend, I was like, I could come up with better ideas. Yeah, it's NXT. It's off the wall stuff. It's the Undertaker character. Why he didn't use his gimmick to bring Von Wagner back to life and him attack Braun Breaker, something like that. I don't know. That was something better than that shit. Oh man, I'm sorry. It's too early.
No, you know what? It's funny. Like you calling AEW Dynamite last night, the NBA playoffs, is the perfect analogy, especially since, and I even sent this to you. Last night's NXT to me felt like the Major League Baseball All-Star game.
Yeah, it was the NBA All-Star game. Like that's what I said. It was and in a competition. Yeah, you would think, oh, playoffs would win over All-Star game. No. This was a situation. I compare it because I'm an NBA fan as well as a basketball fan. So only the NBA fans might understand this analogy. I'll try to think of one in different sports, but in NBA terms, this was the Nuggets versus the Sacramento Kings in the first round of the NBA playoffs in a very close contested game, and you wanted to watch every minute if you really love basketball. But then on the other channel, they had LeBron James, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. It was like they put them in a time machine and they put them out on the court. It was like, what?
Yeah,
It was the NBA playoffs versus the NBA All-Star game. Whatever you like more, that is up to you. Whatever you like in your wrestling more, that is totally fine with you. I have no opinion on what you feel. That is how you feel.
To me, it's
different taste, and I love the fact that it was different shows.
Yeah, no, like look, to me it was like I went more with Major League Baseball because it felt like I was watching the home run derby. But it was, like you said, it was a mix of past and present. It was like Ronald Acuna Jr. And Mark McGwire going toe-to-toe, or Ken Griffey Jr. going toe-to-toe in the home run derby, past and present, because you had Carmelo Hayes get that endorsement last night from both The Undertaker and John Cena. You did have at least The Undertaker saying,
hey. He pointed at him. It wasn't an endorsement. He pointed at him. The people telling me that's an endorsement. John Cena was actually good use of a major star. He had the segment with Braun Breaker. I felt like Braun Breaker got a lot out of that and held himself very well. He actually added to the Carmelo and Trick
yes, he
program.
Did. That was very good. Very good use.
Like, that's how you use a major star. It's like, I don't know. Everybody else, Cody as well, he interacted with people. That was fine with the GM use. That's totally fine and stuff. And that makes sense, him interacting with Judgment Day. But I'm sorry, it's light years the difference how they use John Cena in comparison to The Undertaker.
And that's fair.
It felt like fellatio for The Undertaker. They did a close-up on Booker T crying like he just smoked some weed. And then he's like, oh my God, it's The Undertaker. I didn't see him backstage. Oh, and he's totally silent. We don't even get the big reaction with him saying something funny.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. So like this Undertaker was definitely part of the dick measuring. Like 100 million%. This was okay. How are we going to keep continuously one-upping Tony Khan, which was the best part of this whole weekend, because it was like, oh, well, we're going to announce John Cena, and we're going to announce The Undertaker. Well, not announce, but we're going to make it known that The Undertaker is going to show up. Oh, we're going to go 30 minutes commercial free. Oh, we're going to go 30 minutes commercial free. And guess what? We're going to one-up you, and we're going to do a buy-in, a free buy-in with the Wrestle Aunts and a New Japan and a Ring of Honor world title match between Minoru Suzuki and Eddie damn Kingston, for crying out loud. Like this, just the going back and forth, it was fucking spectacular. And the biggest difference between the two shows last night, which I agree with Ace, I 100% agree with Ace. Both shows were fun in their own ways. Absolutely. How did they do with the demos? WWE won barely. I believe it was 0.4 to 0.36, if memory serves correctly. So it was, again, WWE won out in that one as well. Or excuse me, you had it right. Yeah, 0.30, excuse me, to 0.26. So they both did well last night. Because don't forget, they were also going up against Major League Baseball playoffs. They weren't going up against the NFL, mind you. Otherwise, both these numbers would have been down big time if there was Tuesday Night Football. But both shows, I think, did well last night. I would equate this for AEW as any time that WWE has to go over to FS1 for SmackDown, right? Their numbers are absolutely in the tank. If they can do over a million, somewhere in that 800,000 to a million range for a SmackDown on FS1, they're doing just fine. And that's a huge drop from the 2.3 they normally do on Fox. The fact that they had to move over from their normal night to a Tuesday night, and they had WWE throwing everything at them, the kitchen sink, every single thing they could think of. Fucking Undertaker was on NXT last night. John Cena was on NXT last night. Cody Rhodes and LA Knight were on NXT last night. Asuka was on NXT last night. They threw everything at these guys, and they still got 600,000. That's not a bad number, all things considered, SP3. It's really not.
Really, it's all about AEW's response to this, because we threatened, because of how he acted before this whole thing happened, Tony Khan could have like a meltdown. And I'm hoping he doesn't. There was literally nothing you could do. All you needed to do is just go out there and have the best show possible. And I think you did. You did to the best of your ability. How people feel about certain segments, we'll get into that. But yeah, I thought I liked both shows, and I got what I expected out of both of them. Like I said, AEW was NBA playoffs, NXT was the NBA All-Star game, and I got what I wanted out of both of them. Honestly, like I'd say, like the best thing from both shows, yeah, Brian and Swerve from AEW, and then like the small bits from NXT were the stuff that I liked the most, like John Cena backstage with Mello and Trick, and the Pillman reveal with his promo. Even though platforming your abusive stepfather that you went on national TV and admitted was abusive stepfather, a choice.
We can talk about
that. Not enough people is talking about that. Shout out to David Bisexpan, because he's one of the few that's mentioning that, because that's immediately what I thought as well. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that for sure. Real quick though, got to thank our friends over at BetOnline, by the way, because we would not be here right now talking to all you fine people without BetOnline. Football back in full swing, and BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports wagering information with up to the minute, I said, stats, news, scores, matchup breakdowns. Get the latest game odds, spreads, totals from the NFL, college football, all at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates and statistics, news, and odds. From the start of week number 6 all the way through the college football playoff and the Super Bowl, BetOnline is giving you all the best access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere. Head on to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Just remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. SP3, we've kind of danced all over the place here on these two shows, going head to head, what we liked about it. What do the results tell us from last night, if anything? What is your big takeaway overall from the last several days leading up to the two shows and the results that came out of them?
I didn't learn really anything other than what we've been hearing is true. WWE is unbelievably hot right now on every single metric, including TV ratings, and NXT has been on the rise with the integration of the main roster stars winning championships and being featured on their show regularly. And AEW has been very up and down and been mostly down the last couple of months. So it pretty much came to fruition here. It came, and I think that the best thing Tony Khan can do is just tweet out, "All right, I'll see you this time next year."
Yeah. Look, man. And it kind of sucks too, because I feel like AEW, from like a character standpoint and a storyline standpoint, is as rich as they've really ever been. They're turning out some great stuff. They have between MJF, Swerve, and Tony and Christian Cage, my God, they have some of the best character work going in wrestling right now, which is part of what makes WWE so great, right? Is the storyline. Like what we said Tony Khan needs to focus on is and fix is what he's doing. He's focusing on it and he's fixing it. But at the same time, less people are going to the shows and less people are tuning in. So it's like what I hope comes out of this is it kind of reignites that competitive spirit in Tony, because I feel like maybe he's gotten a little bit complacent, at least in one area, which is the promotion and getting out there and letting people know, hey, we're coming to your city. We've talked about local advertising, shows that have been in both of our cities in the last few weeks. And a number of people, especially for us here in Cincinnati, we only had like 2,400 people show up to that show at the Heritage Bank Center. Most of the AEW fans that I talked to did not know that the show was coming into town until a few days beforehand. And at that point, it's hard to get time off. It's hard to find babysitters to go out and do shit on a last minute. So they had to stay home and watch it on TV. So I'm hoping it kind of reinvigorates him to keep doing what he's doing, because the product is excellent. But get out there, start doing the guerrilla tactics again and get people talking about AEW again, because it's like, there's something I'm going to mention because I was at Fastlane this weekend. There's something I'm going to mention coming up here a little bit later, which is why, because somebody mentioned Jade Cargill in the chat, right? And, Jade Cargill showing up on NXT last night and doing their little teases with her. I'm going to explain why I think that's a really smart thing that WWE is doing with Jade Cargill, and it's going to tie into the fact of why Tony Khan really needs to start getting out there. But I'm hoping, like, I'm not saying he's gotten complacent, but it feels like he in the last year, he fell into this groove of, man, we're good where we are, instead of trying to grow the product. Does that make any sense? Do you feel the same way?
I won't say that. I just say that he's gotten complacent when it came to promotion and caring about like the ticket sales. I think that his eye and his focus was so much on Wembley and not enough domestically. He's not doing enough domestically to draw in the people. And as we've seen with these two major shows in the last 2 months, with Grand Slam and with Title Tuesday, it wasn't until they really got their feet on the pavement and made local promotion. You had Paul White and Mark Henry kind of paving the pavement in Kansas City this week to make sure they had at least 3,000 and it looked like a really good house. They need to kind of remodel what they want to do with live events. Like maybe it's not good to run all these NBA arenas. Maybe you want to run a smaller 5,000 seat arena and just pack that arena, make it as loud as possible, and bring back that party vibe that you had for AEW back in 2019. Because yeah, you're kind of in a lull right now and you need that shot of adrenaline to kind of pick things back up. And the AEW crowds are mostly loud, and the crowd last night was really good, but you need something to kind of pick things back up and revive your live events. That's the thing that I think that is going to spark everything else. I think that the TV viewership is going to go up and down, and most weeks, despite being down from what they were last year, they're number one in the demo. So I don't think that that's really needs to be the focus, even though they are a TV model. I kind of already feel like their TV contract is already signed up and sealed already. They need to focus more on the live events because it's all about the perception and the presentation of your company. And if your live events, you're going to see empty, we're going to see all those pictures on social media of half the arena empty. That hurts the perception, and it's slowly chipped away over time. And now we're at a point where it's like a foreseen prophecy. The pictures really started like last year, and now it's kind of like a big major problem that's right in front of All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, and this was the same thing that people were doing with WWE events in Vince's final year in control before Triple H took over. This was a problem for WWE, and they were constantly having to tarp off the entire TV side. I remember a SmackDown in Dayton, SP3. There was nobody there. Friday Night SmackDown in Dayton. There was nobody inside the Nutter Center. Maybe they had like 2,500 people there, and they had to tape off like 3/4 of the arena. And
this is in 2022.
I believe so. Yeah.
I don't know, because I feel like I feel like the success for WWE was just the post-pandemic. They've been riding high because I know that like their live attendance was up in the second half of 2021 and then 2022.
Maybe my
Maybe
years
they
are off. Maybe my years
yeah.
are off.
I think you're thinking like pre-pandemic. You're thinking like 2019,
Everything
which
is
which
kind of full. Is
which
kind of
which
melding
could
together.
could be just considered the final year of Vince McMahon, really. Because
Yeah, honestly, in all seriousness. But I mean, we were seeing photos of sections being tarped up. Like WWE wasn't nearly as hot, dude. When the last year that Vince was in control, I feel like we were talking about the same talking points, just in reverse. AEW is unbelievably hot right now, and they're selling out and they're kicking ass and doing this and WWE is stuck in the mud. And I'm not saying AEW is stuck in the mud because again, I think their
but
product is so much better. But they got to do something. They got to change the perception, like you said, because fans aren't coming to these shows right now.
But the final year of Vince, the thing we were complaining about was the creative and what he was putting out on TV. Despite all that we were saying about it, their business was up. Like people need to realize that it's not Triple H came and then all the buildings were full. Like no, like
Oh yeah,
literally, I've been writing for about 2 years now, and I remember the 2022 WrestleMania 38. That was the most viewed and highest attendance, most gross WrestleMania before 2023. Like the success really started when they got back on the road after
yeah.
the pandemic. It was like a run of shows was the highest, the most viewed, all of this. That's when that really started. It wasn't Triple H coming in. And I'm sorry, I always feel like I'm being negative on Triple H. And I want to give him credit. I always want to give him credit for what he deserves. And the business side, I think that it kind of started post-pandemic, and then he's upped it. He's brought it up, but the trend started pre Triple H.
I can count on I think I can count at least of the shows that I've gone to where I've had to stand in line to get into. So within the last couple of months for WWE, that's 3 separate shows. And I have talked to at least a dozen people who were going to their first premium live events and who literally said, "Yeah, we really got back into it once Triple H took over." So yeah, he's a factor as far as driving the bit. He has elevated it up so much, SP3. So much that now apparently he the man again. He is the man again. Now there's been a number of reports on this from from Fightful, from Wrestling Observer, from PW Insider, all basically saying roughly the same thing. Like nobody's going on record and saying that this 100% has happened, but from higher up accounts, from the belief among the talent backstage to the morale being high, basically Vince is out. He ain't making last minute changes. He's not having as much input that he may have been having. It's pretty clear he's had a pretty solid input over a few things over the summer at least, because you can tell by just like the last few shows the changes and why everybody believes that this is happening. You look at Johnny Gargano coming back to TV. You look at Cameron coming back to TV. The fact that SP3 we had been very critical, both WWE and AEW, the booking of their women's division all year long. And yeah, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm not saying that if this story is true, that there's going to be any kind of correlation or any kind of improvement with this. But I found it very interesting that the day that the news breaks on Monday that Triple H is out, Vince is out, Triple H is fully in, as far as creative is concerned, that we get 16 different women that appeared on Monday Night Raw, all involved in some kind of small storyline. They weren't all wrestling, but damn, man, the only people who weren't on the freaking show were Alexa Bliss, who's pregnant, Carmella, who's pregnant, Liv Morgan, who's injured, and Zoe Stark, who is fake injured, like storyline injured right now. Nikki Cross is the only other one that I could think of, and she was at least on main event. Like, it's, man, if this is true, like I don't know, man. Like I just see some of the changes that have happened over the last few weeks. Some of the people who are starting to get utilized, the fact that we got the DIY reunion. I'm not trying to get my hopes up, SP3, like that this could be how things are going to be moving forward, and it's going to be Triple H is off the leash as far as his creative vision is concerned. But boy, does it feel like Ari Emanuel played Vince McMahon in these Endeavor negotiations. They're like, yeah, man, you're going to be involved. You're the man. You're the visionary. We love you. We want you part of the team. We're going to give you everything you want in this Endeavor deal. Oh, by the way, I'm your boss. Go sit in the fucking corner now that this contract has been signed. That's what it feels like, SP3. And if that's the case, damn, did Vince get played.
Bravo to Ari Emanuel. Man, everything that I've heard about you came to fruition. You're a master negotiator, a master swindler, and you swindled one of the best. Now, all jokes aside, I think that, yeah, we have seen clear evidence that Triple H has a lot more power than he previously had with the people that have been featured, that we've seen guys like Johnny Gargano, JD McDonough back on TV on a regular basis after reports that Vince had made moves to kind of keep them off TV or kind of subdue or halt a lot of their stories that were going on. So I'm glad that that's being done. But you forgot one of the key points from this Fightful report.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was that all the top wrestlers that he spoke to said, "I'll believe it when I see it."
Yeah,
And
no,
yes,
yeah.
we have been down this road before.
Yep,
So,
sure have.
So unlike Rick, I'm not even going to tease you. I'm getting my hopes up. I'm not getting my hopes up. Just like the last time when he was gone, I didn't get my hopes up that he wouldn't be back.
Sure.
All of y'all got your hopes up. I was like, nope. He's still here. He's still here, baby. Whether he says it or not, he's still here. It's like my friend. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm putting his business out here, but his mom used to go on trips. Used to go away for a couple of days, and used to go to his house. Be like, "Where's your mom at?" And she's like, "Oh, she's away." I was like, "Oh, you're not worried?" She's like, "It's been a couple of days, right?" He's like, "Nah, she'll be back." Like that's me. That's me. Vince McMahon, you the mom. You be back. I know you're on one of those trips. You're gonna come back with a whole bunch of allegations, but you'll be back.
Like, we know the signs now. We know what to look for, right? All of a sudden, certain people disappear off screen. I mean, that you can look back at the whole summer now and look like, man, they started and stopped with JD McDonough. They gave us the reunion on Monday Night Raw, and then they all went away. Like completely. Like they were gone. Tegan Knox signed, never to be seen from again until quite recently when Becky Lynch had to be like, hey, let's get her the hell on TV. But man, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back almost was the fact that she got pulled from that championship match like last minute. And then that was like the last thing that we heard about, aside from injury related changes to creative, which cannot be avoided. Like that was the last thing that was like a last second change that just came out of nowhere like hours before the show started. It was almost like,
I think there's more to this story. It kind of sounds like, because I feel like that might have been something that maybe Triple H went to in Denver about. I'm not trying to put any reckless speculation, but we do have semi reckless speculation on the screen, so I might as well be semi reckless with my speculation. And I think that the removal of Tegan Knox from that matchup probably had Triple H be like, go up to the higher ups, Ari Emanuel of Endeavor, and be like, hey, like I just want to do my job. If I can do my job for y'all, or we can have him always sending messages and then I have to change things and it causes conflict backstage. So I think that was when Endeavor knighted him as the head of creative. And that's probably why, before Fastlane, he probably had a team meeting letting everybody know. That's why Cody and Jimmy and Jay was on the bus having some libation, having a good old time because they like, oh, well, Cody's like, oh, I made the great move coming back. He ain't coming back anymore. Libations.
It's like Triple H. Like that's like somebody calling their parole officer on their stepdad. Like that's what that is. It's like there's finally somebody like hanging over the scene. It's like, hey, I can report your ass. Like, don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. I love you, but don't make me. All right, I gotta report your ass now. And that was one of the big things, is how is this Endeavor move going to change things? And it was very weird, right? And one of the speculation with this entire deal from the get-go was this was the only kind of deal that Vince McMahon was going to accept, was one where he was going to be able to stay as a huge part of WWE and be in some kind of control. And Ari Emanuel gave that to him. And then he's like, oh yeah, well, by the way, I have the power to take that away. But again, I'm not getting my because this man is a fucking cockroach. He finds his way back. Now, unprecedented, right? Situation, totally different landscape now that WWE is under the umbrella of another company. Vince isn't in complete control anymore, so he doesn't have full say over everything. But man, I'm gonna enjoy this for right now and hope that things continue to improve and we continue to see different people on screen like a Tegan Knox, excuse me, like Cameron Grimes, and then all these other young talents that are coming up. Hopefully, when they come up, there's actual like plans for them. Bronson Reed is another guy. We're getting Gunther versus Bronson Reed next Monday for the Intercontinental Championship. Like, just inject that shit right here into my veins, please. Thank you very much. Like, there's a lot of things as far as from an on-screen standpoint to be excited about with the potential of this, and no more starting and stopping. No more starting and stopping. Steven bringing up the fact Xia Li being back on TV for the first time in what seemed like 3 years, that sealed it for me. I think you tweeted similar.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I believe you. Okay,
this woman hasn't won a singles match in what, 4 years? Since she came up to the main roster.
I was like, I'll take your word. I saw Xia Li on the screen. Okay, it's been a while. I was like, what the hell?
Oh my goodness. The fact that we had 16 different women on Monday Night Raw this past week was absolutely insane. Insane to me. Shock, who has the 0.1% creative control in WWE? Well, right now, apparently Triple H has it all. But
no, he has 99.9.
Yeah.
Oh, 0.1% is Vince.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I guess Vince. Yeah, I guess every once in a while.
That was in the report. He said that, yeah, Vince will send his ideas and stuff like that. That's the 0.1%.
What if TKO doesn't then there will be a problem. Then they'll get somebody else, like any other GM or head coach of a professional sports team. They will ride with you as long as you are winning. And right now, WWE is winning. So they have hitched their wagon to Triple H.
And they did not bring in Russell Westbrook. So I give them credit.
Make sure to get your comments in, get your questions in, anything you want us to answer, anything you thought about this past weekend. Like Chris Haley saying, the SmackDown women's division still having issues today. Yeah, they have their issues. I still thought they had a great match this past weekend. I'd like to see more separate storylines going on with them right now. It feels like everything is kind of congealed into one massive storyline, which is fine. I don't mind them intermingling with one another, but it feels like outside of, hey, I want the WWE Women's Championship. No, I want the WWE Women's Championship. No, I want the WWE Women's Championship. There's not a lot going on right now with the SmackDown Women's division, other than Bayley, who's just like, why is everybody sitting here saying that I'm going to turn my back on people when I've actually been the fucking MVP of EO's title run so far? This woman ran 150 yards down Ford Field, blocking like she was clearing the way for Jahmyr Gibbs to score a touchdown for the Detroit Lions, or I'll say Christian McCaffrey since she's a Niners fan, to allow EO to win that women's championship, block 3 different people, and then people like Michael Cole have the audacity to say that she just wants to stab her friend in the back. Just let Damage Control be friends. Once again, Bayley coming in big time this past weekend. At Fastlane in Indianapolis. Get your comments in. We'll answer as many of them as possible. And by the way, everybody who's in the chat right now, I almost forgot. SP3. What? You shaking your head? What are you shaking your head at?
I gave you a perfect segue to the next big topic, and you just totally...
I got it. I got it. I'll go back to it. I just don't want to forget to throw this on the screen.
Started shilling.
I just didn't want to forget to put this on the screen. Well, bam! We got a contest going on right now, good people. You can win not one, but 2 tickets to AEW Full Gear at the Kia Forum, November 18th. Especially our lovely viewers over on the West Coast, where that's a much easier drive for y'all. Because if you can get to California, you can get there, you're in. Like, we'll get you in the door. You just got to get your butt to California. We're giving away 2 tickets. How do you enter? 1, you need to be a subscriber of the channel. So if you're already a subscriber to the channel, cool. You're halfway home. You're done. You're locked in. The only other thing you got to do is go to my Twitter page and retweet my pinned tweet. That's it. 2 things. Bam. You are registered. You are done. You are in. You are signed. You are sealed. You're delivered. And on November 1st, we will pick 2 winners to get a pair of tickets to AEW Full Gear and see Switchblade Jay White challenge MJF for the AEW World title. And I'm sure Tony Khan's going to put on another hell of a card because, again, if you haven't been paying attention, my goodness, AEW is cooking as far as an on-screen product right now. They just can't get people to come to watch it, which is mind-boggling to me. Tony Khan needs to promote that shit. Now,
apparently people don't like wrestling. We just like to watch old geriatric bikers come down and beat up children of old wrestlers.
I whooped up on your daddy. I whooped up on your uncle, and now I'm gonna choke slam your ass through this ring. Although Breaker did give Taker his best choke slam in like a decade.
Oh, he hopped up there. He was like, and I like the fact that Taker used an old man trick to try to get the advantage by putting the microphone. See, I took the WWE sign off the microphone. You never seen that before. Look at the microphone. Look at the microphone. Oh, that's old man. That's an old man trick. Me and Rick gonna be doing that in about like 15, 20 years.
So going back to the not bringing in Russell Westbrook segue that SP3 had laid us up. I feel like just last week on the show, we were talking about all the speculation that was running around one CM Punk and the fact that it was like a report last week, like a solid report that WWE and CM Punk were negotiating or were talking with one another about a return to the company.
From Dave Meltzer, he said they were in talks, and the rest.
Yeah, and everybody got all on board, and they're like, "Oh my God, did you hear what Corey Graves said on commentary? Did you hear what Michael Cole said? Did you hear what this guy did? Oh my God, Shinsuke Nakamura did a go to sleep. Holy shit, CM Punk is coming back to WWE." Nope, not according to the latest reports. You got one, Fightful, who came out and said currently no contract negotiations are going on at this time between CM Punk and WWE. And then you had Dave Meltzer come out on top of Sean Ross Sapp's report and say WWE flat out said no to CM Punk. Now, an important note to this, SP3. No does not mean forever. It just means no right now. So never say never. Things can always change. But I found this very interesting. The biggest part about this Fightful Select report was that the WWE higher-ups were very adamant about the fact of getting this out there that they are currently not negotiating with CM Punk right now. They did not tell Sean that they said no to him, but it seems like they're trying to get out ahead of this. They see everybody speculating. They see people talking. They do not want people to think that CM Punk is going to show up at Survivor Series in Chicago and then have it negatively impact them when he doesn't. And I think that's very, very smart on WWE's part to get this information out there without them flat out saying, hey, look, CM Punk's not coming. He ain't going to be there. Don't get your hopes up, because they're not going to do that. Maybe somebody should have asked about CM Punk in that WWE press conference, but I digress. Maybe it should have been me. I digress. I don't know. I had a choice, guys. I went one way, and I was hoping somebody else would pick up the slack, and they didn't. But regardless, they weren't going to come out and say it, but the fact that they can get out there and get it out there to Sean and then have Dave come back and say, whatever he needs to say to make his story from last week make sense, that's smart. Because then if he does show up in Chicago, holy shit, we're stunned, we're surprised. But hey, if he doesn't, WWE did everything they could possibly do to say, hey, CM Punk ain't going to be there. Don't get mad at us because you thought he was going to be.
Yeah. I've made the argument of why WWE would want CM Punk to come back is because the man draws in a lot of more viewers. I mean, he has his fan base. People will watch, and especially CM Punk back in WWE, something they didn't think was possible. It's the same thing as when like Bret the Hitman Hart came back to WWE in 2010, and that popped the rating, and that pretty much put Impact Wrestling to death in TNA when they try to go up against Bret the Hitman Hart coming back to WWE. And that's the thing with like CM Punk going back to WWE. It's just so weird. It's so surreal. You didn't think it was possible. So you would understand as a business, you might want that back. But also, guys, this is what I'm here for. I'm here for sports analogies, usually basketball analogies.
Yeah.
Right now, WWE is the 90s Bulls. They're riding high. They are successful. They are winning on every single metric. They got the greatest of all time, the guy they call the greatest of all time. They're booking someone else as a 3-year world champion as the greatest of all time. Like they are cooking on all cylinders. They're creative, and their on-screen product is better than it's been in years. So on every single element, they are the 90s Bulls. Now you're trying to tell them, hey, we're going to get your team better. You don't have to trade anybody. Perfect person we got for you. You see, the Golden State Warriors just released Latrell Sprewell. and I think he's going to be a key acquisition for you guys to keep it going with this success.
My man dropped Latrell Sprewell.
It was like I had so many different analogies in my head. I had Russell Westbrook. That's why I said that earlier. I had Allen Iverson for a little bit there, but then I was like, nah, the perfect person. The 90s Bulls get it, Latrell Sprewell. Yeah, it makes your team better. But you might want to ask why he got released from the Golden State Warriors if he's such a great player. Oh, he choked out his coach. Oh, man, I don't know. Oh no! I think we better rethink this decision.
Yes, perfect analogy. There are a lot of negatives that come with CM Punk, and I think that's why WWE is going to take their sweet time. They don't have to bring in CM Punk, and they sure as hell don't have to bring him in right now. They don't have to bring him in for Survivor Series. I've seen CM Punk return in Chicago. It's not a guarantee. I don't need to see it again, right? Like, I feel like Punk will get a good pop if he just shows up in a WWE ring again. Matter of fact, I think it would be, I'm all about poetry, CM Punk, right? I'm all about the poetic occurrences. I think if WWE is going to be able to bring back CM Punk, the perfect place to do it is not in Chicago. The perfect place to do it is Tampa, Florida, at the Royal Rumble. 10 years from the last event that he was in, the Royal Rumble. And you know what? If you have it happen, you know what you need to do? You need to have Kane show up in the goddamn Royal Rumble, to have Mayor Kane out there ready to choke slam somebody. Maybe he clears the ring of a couple of NXT kids and he's standing there, and then you have the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You have CM Punk beat the holy piss out of Mayor Kane, chuck his ass over the ring to get his comeuppance from 10 damn years ago when he was tossed out of the ring, and pulled CM Punk ass out. And that's when he was like, F you, party's over. I quit. I'm out. I'm done with this shit. I don't need to wrestle Triple H at WrestleMania. 10 years later, he's finally back. He comes into the Royal Rumble. That's the place where you bring back CM Punk. And also, because there's so much negativity that comes around with CM Punk, because you don't know, frankly, if you can trust this man for long periods of time, I think a short deal, if you work out anything with him, you work out a short deal for WrestleMania season, you see how WrestleMania season goes, and then you move on from there. So, yeah, right now, not in active contract negotiations. Great. You don't need him. You don't right now. You're, like you said, you're riding high. Every event you have right now, every single event you have right now is a record breaker. And like Triple H said in his press conference, we're now going back to venues that we broke records at last year, and we're breaking that record we broke the year prior. Like, more people are showing up. The ratings are as good as you can expect in today's landscape of pro wrestling, especially on Monday Night Raw going up against the NFL. everything. Why upset the apple cart right now? Until you know you have something solid with CM Punk, something that's not going to upset your locker room. Like, morale's high right now. Y'all just got rid of Vince. You're going to be like, hey, we got one cancer out. Let's inject it with another. Like, why would you do that?
Exactly. It makes no sense on any level. And I know, like, I can only just read the tea leaves and all the stuff we know. When Punk went back in April, when they were in Chicago and he was backstage and all that stuff leaked, and he met with Triple H. Yes, he was trying to test the waters, because he was still in his AEW contract, but he knew what Tony Khan was giving him. He was giving him his own show. He was giving him a little bit of power. And Punk was going to push that as far as he humanly could, it seemed. It seemed, from what we learned and what we saw and everything that transpired, with the thought in mind. I would think, from having that meeting, going there, and because you are such a big star, I think that he had the thought in the back of his head, well, I always can go over here. And I think that you fuck around, you find out.
Yeah.
You fuck around, you find out. Because WWE don't need you. You need WWE now, because you burned the bridge of the only bridge to the only other big wrestling company around. And now you thought you were rebuilding a bridge to WWE, and it was just like, they burned the half of bridge. They burned up.
Yeah.
You stuck on half a bridge. You like, how do I get over there?
Hey, Shock, what would Punk have to do to return to either top promotion? I don't think a return to AEW is in the cards, period. End of story. I just don't. Even though that Tony Khan has said he did not want to fire CM Punk. He didn't want to do it. Even though this man feared for his life when CM Punk lunged at him, he didn't want to fire him. I don't see a return being in the cards. Frankly, I think a return to WWE, a lot of ass kissing. I think it's going to be a lot of ass kissing, a lot of mending fences, a lot of apologies, a lot of, I'm a changed man. I just want to come. Not even that I'm a changed man. Just, I want to come here and end my career on a high note. Like, just want to end my career on a high note. If it's challenging Seth Rollins in the main event of night one at WrestleMania, great. I can end my career on that high note and call it a day. Whatever. I'll even put Rollins over. Great. Done. Signed, sealed, delivered. We cool. Like, if that's what he wants to do, if that's what he wants to come in and do, and he's willing to abide by every single thing, I don't think he's got much equity. I don't think he's got much negotiating pull with WWE. It's going to be whatever WWE is willing to do with him. He's going to have to say yes if he wants to get back in the door, and then go from there and see how things go. And if he behaves over the short-term deal, great. I still think ultimately it would be the right move for WWE to bring in CM Punk, but at a time when it makes sense, like WrestleMania season. And ultimately, I still think it does happen, because it's WrestleMania season, and that's when you make all these big dream matches, and you want WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia to top WrestleMania 39 out in Los Angeles. Well, okay, let's do Seth Rollins versus The Rock, or excuse me, Seth Rollins versus The Rock. Sorry, Roman Reigns versus The Rock, and Seth Rollins or Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. Let's effing go. Like, that's WWE's mindset, and that's what I think ultimately they'll do. But right now, no, there's no rush. Why would you talk to CM Punk right now? Absolutely no. There's nobody you're competing with. Ain't nobody you're competing with. You seriously think CM Punk is going to sign with Impact? Do you think CM Punk will go to Impact? Maybe New Japan? Maybe. I'm asking you. Genuinely asking.
No, he couldn't survive the AEW work in the ring. Like, you expect him to go to Japan, be away from his family and, his dog Larry and stuff like that, and go to Japan and work these hard 20-30 minute matches with Kazuchika Okada and Tomohiro Ishii and Shingo Takagi and Hiroki Goto? Hell no. Hell no. He would. I don't know if he could survive a tour in Japan at his rate.
One thing we apparently know that is coming back, SP3, according to Fightful, War Games coming back, Survivor Series this year. You cool with this? You up for this?
I've been saying that's what they were building to with this whole kind of interwoven narrative going on Monday Night Raw, and now it's transferred over to SmackDown. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I predict it will be Judgment Bloodline versus Team Cody or whatever. It's going to be Balor, Priest, Dominic, Solo, and Jimmy versus Jay, Cody, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Drew McIntyre. After this week is my favorite for the fifth spot because that sets up his Dakota Kai moment in War Games, or a returning AJ Styles, or LA Knight. They have options for that fifth spot.
LA Knight makes a ton of sense right now. I think he might be. Man, I'm looking forward to Friday with Roman Reigns coming back to see who exactly is going to be set up for the pay-per-view match in Saudi Arabia. Is it going to be probably not going to be John Cena? He seemed to give his swan song saying he's pretty much done with this run. At least that's the vibe I got from him at the press conference on Saturday. So that would leave either LA Knight or AJ Styles, which means right now I got to go with LA Knight because AJ Styles ain't on my TV screen right now. So I got to feel like LA Knight's riding high. He'll get the match in Saudi Arabia. And then whatever he's going to do for WrestleMania season, they'll fire that up come Royal Rumble time because I don't see LA Knight beating Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship. But hey, never say never, I guess, right? We appreciate everybody.
He won't. He will say never. He's not going to beat Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia. Let's not even put that out there for people and lie to them. No.
Oh, God. A-Shock, the Judge line or the Bloodmint Day? I kind of like Bloodmint Day, actually, but that sounds weird still, regardless.
No. Let's not even play. Judgment Bloodline. Like all of the stupid combined names. No.
One of the most interesting.
When I leave it up to y'all come up with Hurt Profits, which is one of the worst freaking names I've ever heard when Street Business was right there.
We appreciate everybody in the chat, regardless of your opinions. Come on. Chris, do you believe Jade Cargill will win the Royal Rumble? We'll talk about Jade in just a few moments, by the way. We'll talk about Jade in just a few moments. Do I think she'll win the Royal Rumble? I think she should be a candidate, but we'll see. It all depends on where she shows up. And right now, I don't know if they know where Jade is going to show up whenever she's ready to make her debut. We do appreciate everybody in the chat. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you're new to the show, make sure to give us a subscribe. Hammer that subscribe button and retweet my pinned tweet at Rick Ucchino. If you're a subscriber, you do that. You're entered to win 2 tickets to AEW Full Gear Saturday, November 18th at the Kia Forum out in Los Angeles. You get there, we'll get you in the door. I've been trying to do so many different giveaways this summer, so I wanted to do a big one because I failed to do that over the summer for the fall. So I'm hoping this will you guys appreciate this one. Let's dive into this now, shall we, SP3?
It's time to answer the 5 count on the Believe Podcast Network.
There was a premium live event that happened since the last time that we were on the air this past Tuesday. In 8 days, a lot has happened. What was more entertaining, SP3, the pay-per-view or the pay-per-view press conference?
Yeet. Yeet.
Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes together as a tag team and as tag team champions was something that I did not know I wanted or needed in my life until that press conference happened. Like, till those guys like showed how close they are with one another, how, kind of shine that light on them growing up in the business with their dads and kind of having, similar upbringings and, like just a lot of this tied in together. And I really, really enjoyed that. And the fact that Jay was drunk off his ass during that press conference. I believe all press conference should come with a 2-drink minimum. Now at this point, and somebody was asking me, hang on, I had it, I lost it. Where was it? Somebody was asking me why. Oh, there we go. Ozzy, why was Jay upset with you at the press conference? That's a great question. So you all right over there, Haas?
I'm trying to hold up the titles. Yeet. Yeet. Yo. That was a great question. Yeah. You look 21 now.
So
that's word for word. I watched it like 6 times. That's word for word how he responded to Rick's great question to him. He was like blown away by it. He'd been like, man, you look like 42. And then Rick asked his question and he was like, Yo,
Like
yo,
something hit
that's a
him
good.
on a something hit him on like a molecular level. Like his entire it's like his blood alcohol dropped a couple of points with that question. Like honestly. And to answer your question, Ozzy, I think he felt like I was gonna ask some kind of a question like on a negative connotation, the way that I set it up. Cause I was really just trying to kind of like paint like a full circle thing. Cause I like that kind of shit. The fact that the last time Cody Rhodes won tag team gold was with his brother beating the Usos 9 years ago. And I was like, so the Usos from 9 years ago, you look at where they were now, you look at where Jay is now, his growth as a performer, and you kind of saw like Jay's focus kind of change a little bit as I was asking that question. He was like, "Oh damn, I see where you're going now." And then I asked him about winning gold without his brother, and that killed him. Like that just absolutely broke that man. And I don't think that he was in the right frame of mind from a sobriety standpoint to fully express how he felt with that. But he kept asking me if if I felt him. I knew what he was saying. I did feel him in that moment. I did know. I got it.
You feel me? You feel me? Do you feel
You
him,
feel
sir?
him, sir.
Do you feel him, sir?
Cody was great in that press conference. He's always great in those moments. But yes, man, that was a surreal atmosphere to be a part of for a lot of different reasons.
Cody, question. Yay.
That man literally barked like Titus O'Neil into the microphone. Oh, speaking of Cody Rhodes, SP3. Speaking of Cody Rhodes. This past Monday, Michael Cole standing in the ring with the new undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. He flat out asked Cody. He dropped the major teaser. What does this mean for him now finishing the story? So now on television, once again, we are back to mentioning Cody Rhodes in the same breath as Roman Reigns and challenging for the WWE Universal Championship after everybody just assumed that The Rock showing up meant that wasn't happening. Is Cody Rhodes back on the path to Roman Reigns now, getting back into the bloodline business, or is this just what WWE wants us to think, SP3?
I think that he got the call and Rock was like, man, you better involve my daughter in this storyline or I ain't even going to think about coming. So I think they're at an impasse right now where they have the Cody story and they can use the Cody story for WrestleMania. But I feel like that whole Paul Heyman, Ava Raine, people automatically was like, oh, Paul Heyman recruiting, Ava Raine into the bloodline. Could also be, he was pointing to his whole, phone case that had the bloodline. It could be also, oh, you tell your dad to stay away from the bloodline. It could be interpreted either way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Paul Heyman was one of the more interesting people to watch this weekend. The people that he interacted with, especially on NXT. I don't know if the Ava Raine thing was anything more than just let's get some eyeball emojis and get some clicks and get some retweets on social media. Maybe it does. Maybe there's something brewing there down the line. But I definitely think this is WWE keeping their options open. I think this is putting this out into the universe either means we're getting this match maybe at the Royal Rumble or maybe we get it at WrestleMania, but I don't think they feel like The Rock is signed, sealed, delivered for this yet.
Or we get the scene from South Central. How many of y'all seen South Central? All right, so the titular character, he shows up and he's trying to convince his son to get out of a gang. That's gonna be The Rock trying to convince Ava Raine to get out the gang that is the bloodline. Oh my god, I can't wait. They're probably gonna do it word for word too, Rick. I'm gonna mark out so much.
Oh my goodness. One person we did not see Paul Heyman interacting with, which is somebody I thought maybe he would, was Jade Cargill. We did see her on multiple occasions this week. I believe actually we saw her in all three, didn't we? Didn't we see her on Raw? We saw her at Fastlane and we saw her at NXT last night, I do believe. Or no, we just saw a recap of her showing up on Raw. But regardless, we've now seen her twice on television, SP3, two different brands. They're kind of just sprinkling her in here a little bit, just doing these teases as far as, hey, look who we got. She's on her way. Thoughts on how WWE's handling her so far?
Yeah. I mean, the NXT one, I was just like, well, this just feels like now you're just doing it because it was a thing to do on this show because
Yeah.
she literally did nothing. She literally is the world's most famous Uber passenger. Like at this point,
And
like,
well-dressed Uber passenger.
and yeah, the finest, the finest Uber passenger, Uber elite, Uber black. But yeah, I don't feel any sort of way. If it was just my opinion on the Fastlane presentation, I thought that was well done and just teasing and building more anticipation. The NXT one, it was just like, no, I don't think at all she's gonna be on NXT now. So
I don't think
no.
they know. I honestly don't think they have decided where she's going to start or what her storyline's going to be. And I think they might be slow playing this. They want to keep her presence of mind to the WWE audience. But I also think parading her around to each show and having her just show up for a segment is a really smart move to do, SP3. For one thing that I like, not that I realized, but I saw firsthand this past weekend. I'm in the audience. I'm sitting in the crowd. We see Jade Cargill pull up. They show the video of what happened earlier in the night. And the guys next to me, decked out in their John Cena gear. They were really excited to be there. They wanted to see John Cena and LA Knight and, all the big stars and everything. They did the Snoop Dogg, who? Who is that? And I'm like, oh, you guys are assholes. Like, come on, you know who that is. And they're like, no, seriously, dog, who is that? They had no clue. They did not know who Jade Cargill was. There is a large audience for WWE, the casual fans, the people who know John Cena, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, but maybe they don't know the Gunthers of the world or the Ilya Dragunovs, right? Like they're not as familiar. They don't watch AEW. They have no clue who this woman is or what she has done. They just see this fine ass looking woman walking in and like, who the hell is that? Is that Triple H's escort for the night? Who the fuck is that? We don't know. Like, damn. That was what one guy said. Like, seriously, behind me. That was a verbatim, like, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, that's what this is smart for WWE because it gets people Googling her, like looking her up, getting interested in her because all of a sudden she's an attraction. You see her, and you're like, okay, you have my attention. Who is she? Where's she going to be? So I think it's great for them to sprinkle her in and get people interested in what she's going to do. And it gives her time to figure things out. Yeah. By the way, the guys sitting next to me were not the greatest to be around when the women were in the ring. I'm just going to throw that one out there right now. SP3, we had several title changes this past weekend. A lot of them in AEW. We saw FTR get squashed by Ricky Starks and Big Bill to win the AEW tag team titles on Collision. And the last night, Title Tuesday, Orange Cassidy, once again, the international champion, and Hikaru Shida, the first ever 3-time AEW women's champion. She beat Saraya. Which one had you surprised the most?
Definitely Ricky Starks and Big Bill beating FTR because of the fashion in which it went down. That was a very surprising. In general, I would have been surprised at that win, but just the way that it went down, and that's what it led to a lot of online discussion over the weekend about FTR's status, despite them just re-signing with the company earlier this year. You had people convinced because they trademarked CMFTR that they were joining FTR in WWE, but hold up, wait a minute. Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that this was apparently FTR's idea, which has sparked even more discussion on social media because it makes it sound like FTR didn't want to drop the titles to the Young Bucks because that was the next upcoming plan. I'm hoping that this leads to a bigger 3-way matchup, make it more interesting. Maybe they didn't want to do the 4th matchup between the two teams and they wanted to add another team into play and immediately kind of thrust them to be on the level of FTR and the Young Bucks as the AEW World Tag Team Champions, and giving a push to Ricky Starks and giving a push to a single star that is excelling is something that AEW has done a lot, whether it's Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega, Swerve in Our Glory. This one can follow in the same suit feud and be the thing that propels Ricky to the next step in his progression here in AEW. But we have to wait and see how they progress from it. But that was the most surprising. Both of the Title Tuesday ones were surprising. Not so much Orange Cassidy beating Rey Fenix, because I know he's banged up. So there's a reason why he had to drop the title and putting it back on the guy that made the title kind of the 1B second best title in the promotion is not the worst move they could have made. The Hikaru Shida title change, I feel like it is another thing that I've been saying. I say it here, I see it in Trio, say it everywhere. Anytime Tony Khan has to reverse course or something does not go according to plan, he has issues with juking, with adjusting, with pivoting. He does not know how to pivot. I'm like Ross from Friends. Pivot! And I said it on Twitter, I'll say it here. I think that the Jamie Hayter injury is what took things out for the main women's title picture. I think if Jamie Hayter would have never got injured, she would have held the title to All In, dropped the title to Saraya, maybe in a one-on-one all UK matchup, or maybe you still have Britt and Tony in there as well, and that's where Saraya is going to get her moment. And then Hikaru Shida was going to be the first ever two-time women's champion, but Toni Storm had to win the title from Jamie Hayter. So we had to get Hikaru Shida to two-time before she dropped the title, give Saraya her moment, to then make Hikaru Shida the first ever three-time. I get that it feels like it's clear as day that that's what happened. This is what happened. It would have been a lot less convoluted if Jamie Hayter didn't get it.
Yeah, and I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite when I say this, because I was the first person who said, great, you gave Saraya her moment. She doesn't need to have the title very long. And, you can really kind of put somebody over, because I thought Saraya was doing, like, especially on social media, was doing like really, really strong heel work as the champion. Like, I'm the champion, I'm the best, no one's taking this away from me, cry about it. Like, she was doing really good work with that. And I thought, her winning the title was, hey, putting it on your biggest star in your women's division, the one that has the most name recognition out of anybody on your current roster right now. And I said, she doesn't need to have it long, but that's because I was setting it up for Jade Cargill to come back and squash her and win it. I feel like with Hikaru Shida winning the women's championship, that's fine. You could have stretched that out, though. You could have told that story for a while, because Shida did not get pinned to lose her championship. Saraya beat Toni Storm to win the title and take it away from Hikaru Shida. So, I mean, you could have had Saraya for weeks at a time, like running away from Shida, and actually have like a storyline set up. Last night felt like, let's just do something for a shock value kind of thing, and let's just put it back on Shida and go with it. But honestly, the more surprising one to me was Orange Cassidy winning it, because I feel like we have now, due to injury, and you bring up a great point, right? Due to injury, we're now right back where we were ahead of All Out. Like, we elevated the International Championship. We put it in the main event. We were going to put it on Jon Moxley. He ends up getting his brain scrambled, unfortunately, and hopefully he's going to be okay, because he's still not cleared. That's why he wasn't able to go again last night. And if Tony Khan had to make a decision there in that situation, right? Because I feel like Jon was going to win it back. Okay, Jon can't win it back. Phoenix is also hurt. Well, let's go ahead and put it right back on Orange Cassidy. So in retrospect, it makes sense to do it that way, but it feels like we just completely just went around in circles with all of this. And now this character work that Orange was doing, saying his sad sack routine of, oh yeah, I used to have a championship. I never even, like, all of that's like gone now. He's just, okay, you got the title back, and now where do we go from here? We're right back to where we started.
No, you didn't see what I saw when he won the title. Like, and especially I'll give credit to whoever did it on social media when, he had the full circle moment where he won the international championship pretty much 1 year to the date that he won the title last year. And when you put the mirror of those two moments together, you see the character of what we may be getting for Orange Cassidy moving forward. I don't know if we're getting a darker Orange Cassidy, but we're getting a much different Orange Cassidy, because when he won the championship in 2022, he was looking out into the crowd. He does the moment with the best friends. It's like the title just like validated him, but it was all about the moment that he had with his friends and with the fans. Last night, it was like Gollum with the ring, and he was like staring at that, like, and then the confetti as well was a nice touch. The confetti when he won in 2022, orange. The confetti when he won, and he's looking at the championship and looks like he's now obsessed with the championship. It's all gold. And that feeling of what we were saying with all that story they were doing, where we was like, oh, they're not doing much, they're not capitalizing on the momentum. I think like after last night and that reaction and how he reacted to best friends outside, like he almost didn't know best friends was there. He almost like it was almost like he was so
Blinders on,
enamored. Yeah, he was so enamored with the belt, he didn't even know his friends was there. It was like I got the story instantly that they were trying to get across that he felt this emptiness, and then he got the title back, and it's like, does he still feel empty? Does this fulfill him a little too much that he's now obsessed with the championship? There's a lot of different ways. It made me very intrigued with that, how they executed and presented the celebration last night.
Another option, maybe he feels it didn't feel as great because he didn't beat Moxley to win it back. Maybe that could be part of it as well.
And I feel like they've set up a very strong international championship match for Full Gear. I don't know if the plan was Moxley was going to win here and then they were going to run back the matchup at Full Gear, but I think it's very interesting that you have Orange Cassidy win back the title, so he feels vindicated in getting back the championship, but he didn't beat the guy that beat him, and now that's the guy that gets the opportunity on the pay-per-view. And the last time that happened, he lost. So it's, can Orange do it again? Is Moxley just better than him? Are they going to put the title back on Moxley? Like, there's multi-layers as far as like what you see on screen and then what you see, what we talk about outside of screen is, are they just going to revert course and put it back on Moxley? Are they going to keep him strong and keep Orange? What direction are they taking Orange character? Is he going to continue as a babyface? Is he going to be a darker babyface? Is he going to be a heel? Like, I feel like that wasn't the one that surprised me the most. That's the one that intrigued me the most.
Totally fair. Final question here, SP3. Not really a question, but like, is there anything else that we haven't really talked about or didn't talk about much that really stood out from you from last night, from the NXT WrestleMania to Title Tuesday for AEW? Anything from one of those nights that really kind of stuck out to you, kind of want to shout out that you really liked?
I'm not gonna name one thing. You put me out here. You put me on the stand. I gotta name everything. AEW, man, Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland. Not enough people are talking about how fantastic that match was. These two guys, you would have thought that they had been wrestling for years. They had instant chemistry with one another, and it was the whole question going into the matchup was who was gonna win and how they would execute it. And I think they executed as great as they could to keep Swerve strong and continue his rivalry with Hangman Adam Page. And losing to Bryan Danielson, you're not losing anything at all.
No.
And it is a matchup where he was pretty much evenly matched with Bryan until he tried to resort to cheating, and Hangman stopped him because Hangman is really hung up on the fact that he cheated at Wrestle Dream. So it adds a little more where Swerve could say, I was better than you. It was just Hangman that got involved.
Sure.
That you could revisit the matchup as well. So I thought it was just so great how it was laid out, how it was performed. Both guys are on the top of their game, two of the best in AEW. So I absolutely love that matchup. Hangman Adam Page and Switchblade Jay White was possibly better or just as great. Those two guys just seem to go out there and have a better matchup every single time. I've seen every single matchup between them, whether it was for the IWGP United States Championship in 2018, they ran it back later in the year in the G1 Climax, saw the 4-way at Forbidden Door, and then this match here, they just flowed, and they are quintessential babyface heel wrestlers. Like the way Hangman Adam Page does, like he just gets the crowd connected with them. They rally behind him. He's just, his style, his pacing, his layout of matches is just so well done. But Switchblade Jay White is like, it was, if you had God create the perfect heel wrestler in 2023, it would be Switchblade Jay White. It would look like Switchblade Jay White. It would talk like Switchblade Jay White. It would wrestle like Switchblade Jay White. Everything he does is some of the best stuff in wrestling. His Uranagi, the way he does the flatliner and stuff, his transition, the way he's able to kind of play to the crowd and get the crowd back into matches. He's just so good. And I thought that was another terrific finish to the matchup with Prince Nana coming down, continuing the Swerve rivalry, and then Jay White cheating to win because you got to protect Hangman, because you got to protect them for future big matches. And then the promo exchange, I thought that MJF hit that out the park. That was one of his best fiery babyface promos, where he made the title important. He made his rivalry with Switchblade important. He bigged up Switchblade, telling him that he's going to be a future AEW world champion, making his opponent feel big, saying that you're going to hold that title, but you haven't earned it yet. And the place you can earn it is at Full Gear. So give it to me now. And I love Switchblade with this, not like delusional, but it's just like, I'm delusional because I know it's going to get under your skin. I'm the champion. I can't just give it back to you. You have to earn it for me. It's just the perfect response. I love it. I love it in every way. I am not Jewish, so I don't know if you felt a certain way about the Juice Robinson part. I totally understand.
Sure.
I understand MJF's part of it after sleeping on it and seeing MJF's response and seeing the Fightful report. This is something that Juice Robinson has been doing for quite some time now. It's not something that's come out of nowhere. So I understand that you're feuding with Jay White. You want to get across that you're doing this, stand up for Jewish hate. This is a very important week with everything that's going on in the Middle East and a lot of violence that we are not qualified to talk about here.
Yep.
But I can understand logically from a wrestling standpoint and trying to maybe be a representation of a proud Jewish person standing up against hate. I could understand MJF being like, hey, you already have the roller coasters gimmick. Why don't you say you're going to use that against me? And however you feel about it, it's up to you. I totally get MJF and the story he was trying to get across. And I love the promo because it set up the next pretty much the whole road to Full Gear. We're getting the 8-man tag. Then you saw the whole segment with Acclaimed and MJF. I thought that was better executed than last week, with getting across that they've known each other for so long. And the fact that Max, yes, does also have a crush on MJF. And I love the MJF and Adam Cole phone call because it connected with the scene that they did with Roddy and Adam Cole. Pillman's promo was absolutely fantastic on NXT. Platforming your abusive stepfather, not as fantastic.
Yeah, so I wasn't actually I feel stupid saying this. I wasn't actually privy to that information or that story, because I'm sitting here and I loved everything from let's go ahead and crown him Lexus King, right? Like that's going to be his name in NXT. And I love the concept of shedding the Brian Pillman, I'm not him. Don't think of me as him, because we've kind of seen that pigeonhole some superstars, right? And not living up to those expectations. Like, I think it really kind of weighed down and hindered Curtis Axel. I think Charlotte has been able to.
No, it didn't. It didn't hinder Curtis Axel. It honestly would have helped his career if his last name was Hennig. It was the fact he is the pioneer of WWE doing this, of changing someone who is a son and saying, oh no, having that last name is going to handicap you. It doesn't always do that. It could have really helped Curtis Axel to be Joe Hennig to begin with. Let's not rewrite history here.
That's fair. That's fair. But I mean, it does. The smart wrestling fans know, though, and it's hard to kind of shed that. Oh, you're just your dad. Like what they're doing right now with Dominic Mysterio, even though he has his last night, he is separating himself way out from anything that his dad has done, and what he's honestly doing is more closer to Eddie Guerrero than Rey Mysterio. So they're able to separate him out, even though we know, when he was just, hey, I'm Ray's son, Dom, he wasn't fucking going anywhere. Like no one cared about him. He was just like, oh, that's Ray, and that's Ray's son. We don't care. But this is Rey Mysterio, and we really, really like him. He's one of the greatest of all time. And yeah, his kids, whatever. So sometimes I feel like that the smart fans get you painted in a certain situation. Like Charlotte has been able to overcome that, but people still see, obviously they still woo when she goes. She basically has made her dad part of her character, and it's worked for her, but that's not going to work for everybody. And I like the idea of kind of shedding the Pillman identity and going with this Lexus King and trying to build something of your own. He's still relatively young in his wrestling career. Like, I mean, he was still pretty green in AEW and what he was trying to do with the Varsity Blondes. But Brian Pillman Jr., that comes with a lot of expectations as well. I wasn't privy to the stepdad thing. So when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, now I don't like it as much. But
yeah. I mean, I know that this is basically WWE saying, okay, we're not going to call you Brian Pillman Jr., come up with something. So the last name is also his sister's last name.
Yeah.
I know the first name is someone else in his family. So the name, understand,
Another
I'm
sister.
talking about the promo where it's like, I'm going to represent the man that raised me, not the guy that passed away when I was 4 years old. And that's how I was like, because I reviewed the Pillman episode of Dark Side of the Ring. So when I reviewed Dark Side of the Ring, I actually watched the episode twice. So I remember it vividly, him letting us know that his stepfather was abusive. So to platform him and say, oh, he's the man that raised me, seems like a little bit of mixed messages, or maybe that's the message that WWE wanted you to say instead of how you really feel. That's not my opinion. I'll take it in a vacuum. It was really well done. And it was just like, it was a kind of a message to be like, well, why didn't AEW ever try you really being a heel? Because like your best stuff that I've seen from you before AEW, you were a heel in the Hart Foundation, the new Hart Foundation with Teddy Hart and Davey Boy Smith Jr. And then it was basically you playing a smaller or a version of your dad's loose cannon character. And that's what we're getting here. And it was like AEW tried to make him Flying Brian. And it was like, no, you should have just let him try to be loose cannon instead of Flying Brian.
Yeah. I'm either way, I'm interested. I think that there's some potential here with what they got with Brian Pillman. So I'm
and the pub rules match was really good.
Oh, it was spectacular.
No one was talking about that because everybody was talking about the big names from NXT, but the pub rules match, like I said, John Cena was the best use of a main roster person.
And that's what I want to lean on is what they did last night with not so much Undertaker with Braun Breaker, but Paul Heyman with Braun Breaker. Paul Heyman with Braun Breaker and John Cena with Carmelo Hayes. They did a great job of putting both of those guys over as the, pun intended here, next big things in WWE. I would not be stunned if Braun Breaker, whenever Paul Heyman's ride with the Bloodline is done, if we get full-time what we saw last night with Paul Heyman introducing badass Braun Breaker. Like, it just fits with everything that Paul, like, I saw those two together and I'm like, that's a fucking marriage. That is a match made in heaven, is Paul Heyman with Braun Breaker. It's almost like you could do Brock, a mix of what Brock was and what he is now, where Paul can do some of the talking, but then when you need Braun to really kind of accentuate and be that mad dog type and really kind of put a little more aggression into a promo, you can have him take the microphone out. Like, when I want to talk, I'm going to send a message when I do it. I feel like that's a great marriage that they could do. And that's the next elevation of Paul Heyman if he's still on television after the Bloodline stuff is done. But again, also putting over Carmelo Hayes like they have continuously done over and over and over. Whenever they figure out what the open slots are for those two guys, they knew they were going to get a lot of eyes on that product last night by bringing in those main roster stars. And I think they did great by Carmelo. I think they did great by Braun Breaker, and to a lesser extent, because they didn't really do a much storyline with her, but she swam against Asuka. I think they did right by Roxanne Perez last night. So I think
that could have got more time.
It felt like more time.
They felt like they were just about to hit a next gear, and then it just ended.
Yeah, Asuka just
it was like
MMA TKO.
They very much made it clear it was like Asuka's better than Roxanne. It wasn't one of those, oh, she looks strong in defeat, like the Cora Jade Natalya matchup, which I didn't even think the Cora Jade looked that great against her. But they at least presented that as Cora Jade was the equal of Natalya, but Natalya just got by her. No, this was like, no, Asuka just went on a flurry and put her away. So I feel like the real winners.
They got the
Yeah,
go home signal. Yeah.
obviously. The real winners of yesterday was Braun Breaker and Carmelo, and to a lesser extent, I would say Trick. Because
Trick,
Trick had
yes. Yeah, good call.
Trick had the moment with Cena, and then he had the moment with Rhea during the Dom and
I,
Ilya match.
I loved John going, "You good? You good?" Like, he's like, "When did you know it was your time? Let's talk."
I love that. That was great. That was
That was
great.
so good.
I like this. This Trick Mello program is the thing that gets me most interested into NXT moving forward. And just a little small segment, I felt like that was the best part of the whole show. And the Becky Lyra Valkyria video package.
Oh, that was really good as well. Yeah. Although I do love everybody pointing out on Twitter though that Lyra's a Sasha Banks fan. But who's not? Come on.
Exactly. Exactly. Everybody knows you love Sasha Banks more. And shout out to Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki. You were exactly what I wanted. I just wanted to see y'all just beat the ever loving crap out of each other for free on my YouTubes, and it was great.
All right, SP3, what you got going on True Heel Heat this week?
I forgot to mention the real MVP of last night, the person who was responsible for giving us nearly 47 minutes commercial free on AEW, my patriarch, or my future father when he adopts me, Christian Cage. Christian Cage,
He's
you don't
great.
have to threaten to go to my wife with making some clean sheets on the bed. I will stay out of your way, sir. I will wear a turtleneck. I will be
Jesus.
your son like Nick Wayne.
God damn. Yeah, Christian's doing the best work of his career right now. Like,
oh, and he slaughtered. And I love because I literally got into a whole conversation on True Heel Heat last week with our special guest Brady from the Heel Mark show. He was talking about he didn't like how Edge was saying, "Oh, Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne is going to turn on you." Oh, that doesn't make sense. And I was like, "No, it was Edge projecting. It was Adam Copeland projecting because that's literally what just happened to him." That's literally what just, and I love Christian kind of making like being like, yeah, you're right. It's basically what he was doing. That's not gonna happen to me because I'm not gonna get a bunch of guys, dress them up as a bunch of Halloween acts and call them badasses. And I'm not their leader. I'm their father. I love Christian Cage and Timeless Tony Storm also.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't had it. Don't spoil it for me. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I didn't catch everything on Dynamite last night. I want to watch it. Like, don't spoil it for me.
I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but I should explain to you that it's a silent movie. It's a silent movie, and you might not get it. So me saying what it is, you're gonna be like, it's gonna be like, oh, he told me that. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I should tell you what it is. It's basically it's called Lover's Lament, and
Okay.
it's basically a story of Tony desperately trying to get to her lover. The first part, she's like getting a taxi, gets some stuff, and then the second part is where she meets her lover. Basic, the simple to the point. But when you see it, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, I do get that.
Okay, fair.
You can follow me on the X Twitter machine at True Hill SP3. Go over to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. Got a bunch of interviews that are up right now. My interview with Josh Alexander talking about his upcoming matchup with Will Ospreay, his debut for New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's up right now. Just dropped an interview with Matt Cardona and Lash LaRue from Starcast. Those are really good ones, so go over and check that out. And we had our NJPW Destruction and Ryogoku review earlier today, talking about that show as well as New Japan and Stardom's strategic meeting this week and the fact that Stardom won't be on Wrestle Kingdom. So that's up on the channel right now, and I'll be live tomorrow, 12:05 p.m. Eastern Time. AE Ramble with Jimmy Macaram. For the first time, we review Dynamite and NXT.
You can follow me on the X at Rick Ucchino, just like you see it right there. Make sure to subscribe, guys, to the Believe in Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. Conversation recently I had with Julia Hart is up there right now. Really great conversation. Check that out. I know she's taking some time away because I believe she's getting married in like 4 days or something like that. So, but hopefully she's back soon because she's also one of these. We talked about characters. Now, AEW is really thriving with their character work right now. Julia Hart is right there with all of them. So I'm looking forward to her coming back. Yeah, and make sure when you subscribe check out my pinned tweet, retweet it, get yourself registered to win 2 tickets to AEW Full Gear November 18th in Los Angeles at the Kia Forum. We will be drawing those winners on November 1st. SP3 and I will be back at our normal time slot next week, Tuesday, 2:00, unless we get, NXT moving to Wednesday for some inexplicable reason. But this week has been fun. It's been really, really fun. It can also be really, really exhausting. Regardless, we'll see what happens over the next few days, and we'll talk about it next Tuesday. This has been the Believe in Pro Wrestling podcast, brought to you by BetOnline. Take care, guys.